You got something there? You were going to go.
I have an observation about your
Go.
Mother Teresa story and the kids at Exeter, which is if the kids at Exeter were actually in that situation, I think whatever beliefs they might have about obligation would give way to the actual obligation, which exists whether you believe it or not. And if they were to sin in that case and not fulfill the obligation, they'd feel that sin, whether they believed in that or not. You know, sort of transcends belief, in other words.
Yeah.
And purpose. So what I was noticing about that is your what I would say your purpose, which is your that fulfilling of your unique self, that addressing the unlove, or addressing love, or addressing reality itself as your unique self. That you feel it, and if you can get your ego quiet enough, like in a moment of not need or lack or whatever, then absolutely the most powerful pull is you just have to do, like you said, you just have to do it. You have to do these outrageous acts, and there's no having to figure it out or think about it. It does that for you. You just trust it.
Yeah.
And you know when you missed it.
You know when you missed it. So I want to just completely got it. I want to make a distinction with you and see if it works for you. Okay. So I think Brian's about 1,000,000,000% right that probably every kid in this school, had they been in that situation, would feed her.
Yeah, right.
However, here's the big however. Life doesn't present us with that situation.
Right.
See, that's the game, right? In other words, in the extreme moment, hopefully we would do it. And in this situation, we'd probably all go together with you and we would do it. To awaken as unique self, and this is what Brian and I are saying, to awaken as unique self is to actually realize that that's my reality every day. Right? And that they're not living. Right? That actually that sense of radical obligation, right, actually awake, that's why it's enlightenment. The reason this is an enlightened consciousness is it's not that easy to access. It's actually genuine enlightened consciousness. I actually wake up in the morning and I say, what am I? I am an outrageous lover. Can you imagine that? Imagine that shift in self-perception. Who am I? Mark? Jack? No, I'm an outrageous lover. Just feel that for a second. Who am I? I am an outrageous lover. I have an outrageous set of, I'm going to commit acts of outrageous love that no one else but me, that ever was, is, or will, right, can do but me. How many people saw Superman? Right, it's out now, Man of Steel. How many people saw Superman? Superman, how many? Yeah, big movie night. Yeah, see, there we go. Right? How many people have seen a different Superman? You didn't see this one. How many people have seen a superhero movie? Right? So how many people recognize the following? Right? And it's kind of embarrassing. You talk to your therapist about it, but you kind of know it. Right? You're in the movie and you're kind of saying, that should be me. Right? It's like, fuck, man. Right? That should be me. Right? And you go to your therapist and your therapist says, man, you're dealing with grandiosity. Fuck your therapist, not literally, right? 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 You can get in trouble, right? Right? Or right? But you got the point, right? In other words, that's not grandiosity. That's the true nature of the human being. That's who you are. Right? That's what it means to be a hero of your own life. That's what it means to be a hero of your own life. It's actually that you actually are heroic. And actually, we're desperately unhappy when we can't access our heroic nature. We're desperately unhappy. Like, there's nothing else that can fill us because it doesn't actually align with who we are. And we're looking for a place to be heroic and we can't find it. And then we go to therapy and our therapists tell us that we're lost in grandiosity and working out some other issue. No, wrong. I mean, yes, maybe, right? But wrong, right? In other words, my nature is I'm heroic, right? And that's what it means. To be an outrageous lover means, right, I can save the world. That's actually what it means, right? And now again, let's go back to our slime mold, okay? Because I want you to get this. These are not cute words. Get back to our slime mold here, right? Back to slime mold. We're on the forest floor. Looks like the dog threw up, but it's slime mold, right? Anthill. How does an anthill work? It means that you self-organize. And the way you self-organize is you do that which is yours to do in that moment. And by doing that, by acting locally and thinking locally, you completely shift the nature of the whole game because everyone's awakened as their unique self. Because when Rachel awakens as her unique self, it actually creates the field of a strange attractor, and everyone in her field responds to her awakening. And it becomes, right, a rippling, right, of unique self-awakening. And there's no top-down, there's no government, right? There's no law, there's no guru. Okay? The last couple of people before we kind of go into the, we had a couple of comments left here kind of in the room, or we kind of got this, we can kind of hold it here. We're good? Okay. Okay, so Tanya.
Oh, one thing. So are you doing the most outrageous thing?
What's
that
your name?
Oh, I'm Chris.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
So are you doing the most outrageous thing that you see can be done in that particular moment as the outrageous lover?
Great question. So here's the last sentence and then into the music, right? You are addressing the unique need that lives in your system that no one else but you can address in the way that you can address it. That's what unique self does. Unique self accesses their unique talent, experiences their unique pleasure, addresses a unique need, gives their unique gift, which is a function of their unique perspective, which fulfills their unique obligation. That's the game. You have an irreducibly unique perspective, right? You have an irreducibly unique perspective. What does it mean to love God? Right, last sentence. We'll finish with this and we'll go into music, okay? Right? And maybe we won't do part 2 and part 3. We just started with part 1. Okay, so maybe we'll kind of...
Second and third person.
Right. We just got started, but we got started. Right, thank you. So here we go. So let's just stay with this, okay, for a second. So anyone ever heard that phrase, to love God? Has anyone heard that? Mm-hmm. How many people here love God, just between us? Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
That's it?
4. Okay. Okay, I mean, just between us. This is between us in the room, okay? Loving God's like the weirdest thing, just between us, okay? I mean, how many people wake up in the morning, just to speak kind of this is off the record, okay? I mean, it's weird to love God, right? You wake up in the morning, you say, God, I love you. Who are you talking to? Oh, the great force in the sky. Let's cuddle. Really? Like, what does that mean? And is God lovable? I mean, just between us, right? I mean, is God cuddly? I mean, is God lovable? I mean, God's everything. Okay, how about the 100 million people who died in the last century, right, because of this world that this God manifested? So what does it mean to love God? It's a kind of a weird word, right? Love God. So what does it mean to love God? Here's a sentence. And this sentence will take us into the music, okay? To love God is to let God see with your eyes. You get that sentence? All right, to love God is to let God see with your eyes. That's shocking. Meaning there's something that God can see through your eyes that God can't see any other way. And let's hold it right there. Because if we get to second person, we'll go in deeper. And if not, we'll hold it right there. So Tanya, you're going to take all of this and you're going to kind of put it to music.
Are you guys ready?
Yeah, give her a big hand. Yes. Don't clap, don't clap, don't clap, don't clap, don't clap. Just take it in. Just take it in. Just kind of take it in. Just kind of like, that's the easier way to do it. Just kind of take it in so we don't lose it.
We're gonna give you one more, beautiful beings. Oh, isn't
Hold
it
that Dharma.
comfortable?
It's the Dharma on the flute. Just take it in. Got it. So step one is, what does it mean to be lived as love? So wow. Let's finish it I don't think we're going to get to step 3, but we'll get to step 2. What's the quality of being? What's the quality of being? Being is the urge to merge. Being is bliss, quiet, peace, infinite expanse. Being is the you that's there when everything else is no longer there. Your job, your status, your body, your emotions, your thoughts. The shocking realization of being is that you're still there after all of it's gone. That's the awakening to being. It's the awakening to true self. It's the unmanifest, your original face, the uncreated. And then being decides to become. And becoming isn't the urge to merge. Becoming is the urge to emerge. It's the urge to articulate. It's defined not by quiet or bliss, but by ecstasy and urgency. If you will, the quality of becoming is ecstatic urgency. And being and becoming are the faces of essence. Being is true self. Becoming is unique self. Enlightenment, we said when we began a couple months back, we said that enlightenment is sanity. Remember? Those of you who were here? Enlightenment is sanity. That's what enlightenment means. Enlightenment is sanity. That's all it is. What does sanity mean? I know my true identity. That's what it means to be sane. Right? If I say I'm Brian, it's cute the first time. Not exceedingly cute, but slightly. This Brian over here. Or maybe I'm that Brian over there. Or maybe, are your name Brian? No, okay. Okay, right? So if I say I'm King George, if I say I'm Prince William, it's cute, it's funny. If I keep saying I'm Prince William, it's kind of weird. But if I keep saying it and you actually realize he thinks he's Prince William, he's fucking crazy. He's insane. Right? That's what insanity means. Insanity means I don't know my identity. But here's the deal. The mistake between me and Brian, Mark and Brian, that's a relatively minor mistake. They're a little better looking, but basically two guys around the same age, doing their thing in the world. The mistake between being a separate self or true self, right, that mistaken identity, right, the belief that I'm merely a skin-encapsulated ego, that I'm separate from source and separate from nature and separate from you and separate from all that is, that's an enormous mistaken identity. That's insane. Right? It's insanity. Completely crazy. And so that belief that I'm merely a separate self, that I'm not true self, that I'm doing before being, that's the belief that creates suffering, dukkha. But what happens is we then merge and go for being, and we stop. And actually being then gives birth to becoming, to ecstatic urgency. That if you want to know what the quality of essence is that defines the outrageous lover experiences ecstatic urgency. That's the quality. Which brings us to number 2, right, the second face of love. And I want to do this we're going to do this in a much shorter way, right? Only because, we can hang here till 4 in the morning, but you guys might have schedules, right? I don't know what that's about, but I understand, okay? So let's introduce an idea, okay? We're going to move now from the first face of God to the second face of God. And the second face of God, which is the second face of love. And remember, the God you don't believe in doesn't exist, right? So when I use the word God you don't believe in doesn't exist. Right? The second face of love is the one that's more left out in contemporary spiritual teaching than even becoming is. And it's a huge loss, And it actually makes the contemporary spiritual scene, right, fundamentally ineffective at transformation. Fundamentally ineffective, right? And the level of ineffectiveness, by the way, in the spiritual scene is kind of stunning. And it's kind of shocking. Right? You'd shut down any company that operated that way. They're like, really? Right? I mean, it's just mind-boggling, right? And it's this kind of self-involved, self-referential, gorgeous group of people who are all my friends, and I'm one of them, so I'm critiquing myself. It's a self-critique. Right? But actually, it doesn't actually impact the mainstream of society in any substantive way. And so we actually have to revision what that means. But one of the major problems is, and one of the reasons it becomes kind of completely irrelevant, is because although it can get an idea of love as being, it rarely gets to love as becoming. You are the irreducible, unique incarnation of the love intelligence and the love beauty that initiated the cosmos, that lives in, as you, and through you, that has a gift of love to give. That's your obligation that can be given by no one but you. It rarely gets there. But if it does get there, it never gets to the next step. And the next step is absolutely critical. Okay, let's get to the next step, okay? Hey, Rach, you want to talk about the next step, sister?
Please.
Yes. Yes.
It's urgently coming.
So what's the next step? So the next step's about God in the classical, old-fashioned sense. I want you to stay with me on this, okay? Right? If you leave right now, you'll get the wrong piece. Okay, so let's stay with me on this. If I'm a true self, okay, good move, guys. Right? Nice. Everyone's kind of nice. Brian, Jennifer, nicely done. Nicely done. Yes. Yes. Right? If I'm true self, right, and the total number of true selves is 1, then where does God live? Anyone, stay with it. Where does God live? If I'm true self, the total number of true selves is 1. Right? Activate your dharmic heart, body, and mind. So where does God live? Well, if I'm true self, right? Right? Everywhere as me, right? Kind of like that. Good. Everywhere as me would work. Okay? What happened to that old God that was kind of chatting with me, that knew my name, that was kind of holding me? Remember that God from way back then? So you know who talks to that God? Fundamentalists. Right? They talk to that God. The Lord Jesus, right, knows your name. Jesus the Christ. Right? And you know what? They're right. Now stay with me for a second. They're absolutely dead right. They're wrong about their interpretation of what Jesus the Christ wants to say, right? Because it gets refracted through the prism of a mythic consciousness, right? That's dead wrong. You ever heard of Rumi, my sister? Do you think Rumi was meditating, my friends? He was not. Rumi did not meditate. He didn't like to meditate. Right? He was doing a lot of drinking in the taverns. A lot of drinking in the taverns. I became friends with a guy who's just a dear buddy, a guy named Coleman Barks, who translates Rumi, when we both spoke someplace, and we went afterwards and we said, you know, we're not going to go to sleep. We gathered a bunch of people and we spend the night kind of drinking l'chaim, right, a couple of years back, and telling stories of the great masters. So, got to drink in the taverns. Drinking in the taverns is good. And when he was drinking in the taverns, what was he doing? What was he doing? He was talking to the beloved. Remember? He was talking to the beloved. That's what he was about. He wasn't about meditating. He wasn't sitting shikantaza or zazen, right? He was chanting. He was drinking l'chaim, right? And he was praying. He was falling in love with the beloved. He was ecstatically, right, saying, hold me, take me, open me, let me fall into your arms. And Rumi's great teaching is, wherever you fall into God's hands. Like, wow. Like, wherever you fall into God's hands. Not the mythic God, right? Not the fundamentalist God, that hijacked God in the second person. This is God in second person. And God in second person is the God that knows your name. Now, I want to really get this, because if I say this as a dogma, well, you should say to me is, fuck off. There's no dogma here, right? So let's get this as a dharma. Okay, I want to give you a dharma means you can actually access it in first person, meaning that when you speak, the universe hears. But that's a profound, wild assertion that's been completely lost in the contemporary spiritual world. Right? When you speak, God, right, not the Santa Claus God, right, God, The living being intelligence of the cosmos, which is personal. And when we say God's personal, it doesn't mean that God's, right, right? It means God's more personal than I am, right? If I have a relationship, right, with Marty, right, and Marty and I are hanging out, and then Marty goes back and he says to his wife, Heather, I was talking to, to Goffrey, and I mean, he's a great teacher, but he was so impersonal. That's not a compliment. He's not saying, oh, he was impersonal, he was enlightened. That was impersonal enlightenment. He's not saying that. He's saying there was something wrong. There's something absent in his quality. So when we talk about getting personal, right, it's a real personal conversation. I felt it was really personal. We're talking about something that's direct. We're talking about something that's intimate. We're talking about making contact. So God, whatever that means, is not less personal than you and me, right? God's more personal than you and me. When we say God's not physical, what do we mean? Everyone says God's not physical. What does that mean? It means that the quality of physicality doesn't exhaust the concreteness of divinity. You get that? And physicality is too tepid. Physicality is too nothing, physicality. It's not concrete enough to hold divinity. Right? Physicality it's too weak of a term. So we can't apply physicality to all that is, to the ultimate being intelligence, because it's too weak. But it doesn't mean that God's like this weird nothing. It means that physicality is too non-existent to hold ultimate existence. You get that?